The gospel text of today, chapter 6, verses 60 to 69, concludes the discourse on the bread of life. Jesus has invited the people to move from merely seeking Him to satisfy their physical hunger, to realize that He can satisfy even the spiritual hunger. The people hear Him with the ears of their head, but they do not let what Jesus says go down into the depths of their heart. They continue to remain at the surface level and will be satisfied if Jesus simply gives them physical bread, a bread which will make them hungry again, and they keep coming to Jesus again and again and again for the same bread. When Jesus invites them to that deeper level, they cannot go. And so they respond to Jesus by saying that the language Jesus speaks is incomprehensible. The language Jesus speaks is intolerable. The language Jesus speaks cannot be understood. And because Jesus has stopped the physical aspect and has continued with the spiritual, they leave Him and go away. Jesus, however, because He has come to do God's will, Jesus, however, because He has done all that is required of Him and has left no stone unturned, will not be perturbed, will not be disturbed by the people leaving Him and going away. He does not need the approval of people. He does not need the applause of people. He does not need the commendation of people, because His commendation comes from the Father. And He knows in His heart that after He has spoken, after He has done whatever is required, God's will is that the people must go away, and the people do, and Jesus is at peace. And then there are the 12, the closest, the ones whom He has handpicked, the ones whom He has chosen to leave His mark in the world, the ones who will be His feet and His eyes and His ears and His tongue after He has ascended to the Father. And He turns to them and asks them, will you also go away? Even though Simon Peter may not have understood in its entirety the discourse of Jesus, Simon Peter responds on behalf of all the disciples when he says, Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life, and we know that you are the Holy One of God. And because Simon Peter remains, and because the other 10 with him remain and persevere, even though they are not able to understand or comprehend fully with their mind, we realize that by the end of the gospel, they receive indeed this bread, not merely the physical bread, but the bread of life. And so the gospel text of today is inviting us to realize that there are many things that we may not always be able to understand with our minds. That there are many things that go beyond our comprehension. And our response to that must be resilience. Our response to that must be perseverance, like the 12 persevered. If we respond like the crowd and go away because we call the language intolerable simply because we cannot understand or comprehend it, we will have missed out on this revelation which is being made to us again and again. Even though the disciples may not have understood completely the words of Jesus, they remained with Him, they persevered in their remaining and were rewarded with not only the bread, but the bread of life. Do you give up too easily when you cannot understand something? Will you persevere and persist today?